Okay, good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to this webinar on proposal submissions. I apologize for the very late announcement, but we started to receive so many similar questions from our users, then I thought it might have been a good idea to simply go with you through the proposal submission. Now, for those of you that were already at the user meeting in Lausanne and Basel, some of the things that I'm going to present today were already there. But I think refreshing your memory might be good. So this is just the overview of the allocation schemes. What I really would like to point out is that this information are available on our webpage all year around, and we try to keep them up to date. So it is also important for you to, when you think that you want to submit a proposal at CSCS, that you start looking into these items well in advance. Unfortunately, we are receiving a lot of requests on how do I submit my proposal, and of users that they have never ever been users of CSCS, that they don't have access to PITS Dined. And now this is a bit of a difficulty because of course we can quickly open a preparatory project for you, but still you need to pay attention about your technical data. And so 4 or 5 days might really be not enough to collect the information the mandatory items that you need to put in your proposal. So this preparatory phase, please, or preparatory projects, as we call them, please keep in mind that you can apply any time of the year, and they usually you will have a small allocation, of course, that can last up to 3 months. And you can collect your data, and in very exceptional cases, we can also extend a little bit this preparatory phase. As far as production projects go, maybe you have heard or you read on our webpage about this difference that we make between small and large production projects. So small production projects means that your request of resources does not exceed 65,000 node hours. And this proposal, they still have to pass technical review. So you still need to be able to have collected all your mandatory items to put in your proposal. And if the technical review passed, usually it's quite straightforward that you will be granted an allocation, even though you still have to wait for the proper time to start. Large production proposals, like large development project proposals, they go through the standard procedures. So you have to submit your proposal, and then we have the reviewing process in place. You can also submit small development project with a very, also here, a very relatively small allocation. And these projects can be submitted at any time, and usually they can start within 6 weeks. As far as Kronos proposals are concerned, these are annual calls for proposals. So you have only one call for proposals per year for Kronos, and the deadline is this coming 16th of October to start on April 1st. Now, who can apply for a production project or any of these kind of projects? So PhD students cannot be PI. You must at least hold a postdoc position within an academic institution. There is no limit to the number of proposals that each PI can submit, but please, please pay attention, because if you submit more than one proposal, it does not mean that you can simply replicate the technical description in each one of your proposal. Your technical description has to be tailored to your specific project, to your specific case study, so to the specific proposals that you are submitting. If we received several proposals with replicas of the technical descriptions, this proposal will be rejected and will not go any further. Resources, what to apply for. There has been a lot of confusion about this point, and you know, of course, that we have a smaller system or a heads-on system that is called PITS-DORA, but please keep in mind that if you want to apply for resources at CSCS, you have to apply for PITS-DINE. No matter where you have your allocation, you have to apply for PITS-DINE. So if currently you only have access to DORA, so to the purely multi-core system, you have to ask to be granted access to DINE so that you can run all the mandatory items on PITS-DINE and put them in your proposals. It's up to the panel committee and to the director at the end when we sit for the meeting when we have collected all the reviews, the scientific and the technical reviews, to decide whether a proposal is actually better suited on a DORA rather than a DINE. But you, as PI, can only apply for PITS-DINE. What do you have to apply for? Also here, there has been a lot of confusion. In the past, of course, we have changed currency a couple of times. I accept that. But it's now, since we have the hybrid system, PITS-DINE, in place, that we are telling our users that they have to apply purely for node hours and not for core hours. If you apply for core hours, you have to apply for hypothetical and or whatever conversion factors, and then we end up always with users being upset and a lot of confusion on our side. So please apply for node hours. This is also better for you because we will also, once and for all, get rid of this assumption that if you are on DINE, you are penalized. If you are on DINE, you are not penalized. You will, if you apply for node hours. If you are on DINE, you are not, and you have a code that is not GPU enabled, you will not take full advantage of the node of PITS-DINE, but you will not be penalized for not using the GPUs. As you might have read or you know by past experience, you can also submit a multi-year project up to 3 years if you are a professor, because 3 years is the duration of a PhD, and so we allow your PIs to submit a proposal up to 3 years. But when you ask for your resource request, so your resource justification, please remember that we only want to know what you need for the first year of your proposal. So resource request is for 1 year only. If in your if your proposal description you want to tell us more your estimate for the future, that's very fine, it's okay, we accept that, but your form and your final table and request resources has to be for 1 year. I'm not going to go through the scientific description of your proposal because we have extensively written this on our web page, but if you have questions, I will be willing to get the questions. I will maybe stop in a few slides and I can see if there are already questions, or you can wait for the end of my presentation and then I can answer the questions. So I'm not going through the description, the scientific description of your proposal, but please, I want to recall your attention on the fact that from now on in your proposal, we also want, if applicable, of course, because if this is your first production project, you are not going to have this data. But if you have already submitted a production project with us that is going to expire and you are applying for a new project, what we are asking you to also give us is the total annual allocations that you ask in your last proposal, what you have been granted, and what you have been using. And on top of that, we really would like to see the publications that resulted from your last production project at CSCS. I'm asking you to give us a link or PDF file, but because there was a question, maybe you have seen in the chat room about this, I do not want to receive, or I really would like not to receive your entire list of publication in PDF with PDF files attached. I'm only asking for papers that resulted from your project at CSCS. So papers where you should have also be so kind to acknowledge CSCS for giving you resources. Additionally, what is also important, besides the total number of node hours, okay, this partially we already asked since we had the hybrid PITS Dint here. So whether your code is pure CPU or GPU, we also would like very much for you to spend a little time to understand the memory consumption or the memory requirements of your code and what you are going to study, and also if you have an issue with network latency. Then please remember that we do have this space project if you for temporary storage. So that means for as long as your production project is open, and store if you need long-term storage, but you need to ask for the disk space. So you need to spend a little time to make your math and understand what is the disk space that you need in your for your project. Then it would be also nice if you can tell us whether you need visualization resources, and if you need visualization support, and if you need pre and post processing. These are not really new things, but it appears to us that very often you tend to sort of forget to add this. And then we have to receive emails, desperate emails that you need disk space or more than what the default is. Yes, Jean-Guillaume is stopping me, please. Okay, so maybe I can, are there questions that we need to ask? That we need to answer? Or not yet? Okay, so I don't want to, we will see later on. So now what is very important for us is to give you some hint of what we think is an excellent proposal. Of course, outstanding science and good justification of resources. The outstanding science is not judged by us, but is evaluated by external peer reviewer. What is absolutely important for us is a clear presentation of benchmarks and resource requests. CSCS team, so the technical reviewers of CSCS need to be able to understand your numbers and to follow your numbers. So please try to be as clear as possible. Why a technical review, a technical resource justification fail? When it's really, really difficult to understand what is that you are asking, when you simply give us assertion, I need this much or I need that much. This is not a justification of resources. You are just making a statement that we cannot check, and we cannot actually test whether what you are asking makes sense, yes or no. So if we cannot make the math, this means that we have to reject your proposal, because from the numbers that you're providing, we are not able to reproduce with some error bar, we are not able to reproduce your number. And so also, usually rejection of a proposal is also when you are asking, you want to do something that is really not suited for system like PITS Dint. What we want to see is actually very, very simple. You have to please keep in mind that to understand your resource justification, we shouldn't be expert in your field. So the justification of resources has to be somehow independent from the field of expertise that you are, whether it's plasma physics, molecular dynamics, or material science, or astrophysics, it shouldn't matter. So what we are asking you is something as simple as I'm actually presenting in this slide. So we want you to tell us that your models run on a certain number of nodes, I call it P. At a P nodes, you know that each model takes a certain number of hours that we call H. You also know that when you run N models, you write a certain number X of gigabytes on disk. So your resource justification should be as simple as I need N by P by H node hours, and I will need N by X gigabyte of disk space. So, I mean, maybe I'm oversimplifying here, but once again, please keep in mind that the technical reviewers should not be expert in your field to understand your justification of resources. Now, as a personal note, because I see a lot of scientific reviews, I also have to tell you that saying that you want to run n times your models is not usually well received by the reviewer, by the scientific reviewers. You should really try to justify why you need n models and not n divided by 2 or n at the power of 2 or 10 or whatever. So please try to think a bit more thoroughly on what you are asking. We do realize, certainly, we do realize that it's very difficult sometimes to be very precise and very accurate, so we do accept back of the envelope estimates as long as we can follow your reasoning and we can follow your numbers. I mean, we have advertised this a lot, and is also on our webpage, and I will keep saying this forever. You need to provide the mandatory items that we ask you to provide. So we ask you, PIs to have to run performance analysis. Preferably, of course, we would like to use you to use CRAPAT, but we do realize that we are having some issues and it doesn't really work all the time. But we also ask you to please not wait until the very last minute, because waiting until the very last minute means that we might not be able to help you fixing the problems if there are problems and if things are not working. And you cannot expect to be justified if you come 3 days before the deadline. So please, writing a proposal at CSCS requires sometimes. I really understand that you're all busy with your research, that you're all busy with other commitments, but for you, these are simply, and I put simple in brackets, compute hours. But for CSCS, these are money. So please keep in mind that it is really important for you to take submitting proposal at CSCS seriously, in the sense that you need some time to put together a well thought and complete proposal. Proposals that they are lacking mandatory items are really rejected without any additional steps. The first thing that we check at the moment you submit proposals is if there are all the mandatory items there. If they are not, you will receive the proposal back. Now, I said to you what we would like to see, so what we do not want to see is these very vague proposals where you say you want to do something, but it's not really clear what is that you want to do. When your benchmarks and your technical data do not really represent what you are describing in your project. You have asked, someone of you asked about CP2K. CP2K is a well-known code. Of course, it's a well-known code. And of course, we know that CP2K scales fantastically well, especially for pure water molecules. But what we are asking you is to really take some time to run these tests and these benchmarks for your case study. So we are interested to understand how how the code will perform for your specific problem. And once again, if you are new at CSCS, or if you are not new at CSCS, but you do not have access to PITSDIND, you have to come to us with a preparatory project. This is really important, and it is really mandatory. Once again, and I've stressed this many times already, there is one simple golden rule for a technical reviews a technical description that makes sense. Your resource request has to be equal, has to be identical to the estimate of resources that the technical reviews does based on the numbers that you are providing in your proposal. And again, please don't smile, but this is really happened at every single proposal submission. We do not want to see a proposal where you, of course, have technical description, of course, you have benchmarks and scaling numbers, but these are on a different platforms, on a completely different machines, even though the code might be the same. We are not interested to know how your code would perform on a system that we have no clue about. What we want to see are technical data on PITSDIND, which is a unique system, and for that reason, it should really be, you should really try to get access to the system as soon as possible for your preparatory phase. So once again, to summarize, you have nruns, M gigabytes, and this is what you want to give us. We don't want this assertion of I need just as much, or I need 3 million node hours, or core hours, or whatever. Please, you need to be scientific. You really need to be scientific. Now, I plan to stop during my presentation, but I'm almost actually at the end. So I will complete my presentation, and then I will happily answer your questions if you have any. So how do you apply for once you have collected your data, your file? So now you have your project description in a PDF file. Now you have your CV in a PDF file, and now you have your publication list in a PDF file. So you are ready to submit. You go to our webpage, www.cscs.ch, and, oops, I cannot exit? Yeah. And then you go to User Lab, Allocation Scheme, and here, based on where you want to submit your proposal, whether it's a Kronos proposal, a production proposal, or a development proposal, you get in. And here there is submit to our web portal. So you click here, and this is what happened. So here you have to give your Kerberos credentials. So if you are already a user at CSCS, you do have these credentials, because these are the username and password that you use to log in on any of our system. So ELA or whatever, DIND or whatever other system. Then you have two options here. You can either download the PDF form, or you can go online and do the submission online. So if when you open this form, there are data that they are wrong, please contact us. Send an email to help, and we will fix the wrong data. Then here you should choose your institution, whether it's EPFL Lausanne or whether it's University of Basel. Then you add the title of production project. If you are a professor in any of the institution, you can ask for more than 1 year proposal. And then you have to choose the discipline. Hopefully it will be there, maybe not. Now, when you ask for the resource request, please remember that this is your annual resource request. So compute resources means that you are asking for pits dined. So these are node hours. If you ask for, I don't know, 100,000 node hours, then yeah, you should, if you want to ask for additional resources, you can choose visualization service, and you can write some sort of here it's all still core hours, because actually I notice now, because previously we had a cluster where you should ask for core hours, but now visualization is done also on Pits Dined and Dora, and partially on Pilatus. So it's you should also apply for node hours. And then you have to ask for the disk space. So this disk space is the temporary disk space. So is slash project, which is given to you for the duration of your proposal. And usually you can ask for, I don't know, 20 terabytes, you can ask for more. I mean, if you can justify, you can ask for, certainly you can ask for more. And we encourage you to ask for what you need. Then you have to, okay, this is mandatory items, and there is a reason why we ask you to click here, because you really have to make sure that all this list of items that you have here is really in your project description. Then you have to attach your project, your CV, your publication list, and then you simply confirm and you submit your form. I don't have attachment, so it will not let me attach, let me submit. But this is what it is. And if you download the form is identical to this one. It's just that in the end, you will have to do the submission offline. And sometimes you get this error message that it doesn't recognize your, that it doesn't let submit the proposal. And it's usually, you just have to allow the form to be submitted for at least once, and then it should work. And done that, you have finished your submission, and you usually receive an automatic email saying your submission was successful. It's just a box that pops up and pops up and tells you that your submission was successful. It takes at least I mean, because the deadline is on Friday, it takes at least until Monday when you actually receive my email SPI saying we received your proposal, thank you very much. But if the window popped up saying your submission was successful, you can be 100% sure that your submission was successful. So with this, I've really completed my presentation. Are there additional questions? So? No. That's not possible, because then the PI has to give the credential to the PhD student. So that's not possible. I just explained that the submission can be done online, or you just ask the PI to download the form and give it to you as a student, and then you do the submission offline. It's really, we really do not suggest, I mean, we do not advise PhD students to submit the proposal. Any other question or any other items that you would have liked me to cover and I haven't covered, please at least ask your question in the chat and I might try to answer. Yes, the slides will be available. Actually, I think we recorded no, I think we recorded the presentation, so we will publish in the CSCS YouTube, so you can go there and listening to the go again. Hello. I mean, I don't think you need to. I don't think that you need to submit the unpublished papers. You can simply mention in your proposal that you are in the process of writing a paper, so you don't need to submit an unpublished a draft, so to speak. That we trust you that you are really doing it, and next time probably you will. We will ask you for a publication list also for your for our annual report, and so maybe by then you will have the paper submitted and accepted. In the case, do we need to show performances? No, 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 no. For pre and post, sorry, maybe I wasn't clear enough. The mandatory items are just for pits dined. For visualization and pre and post processing resources request, we do not ask you to give benchmarks or technical data. But we ask you to not overdo and really ask for what you need without inflating your request. No, you don't need to show performance on for pre and post processing. No problem. Yeah, it's easier to answer your questions than to write to type. Alexei, you should have your username and or you do, I mean, no. If you don't have username and password, means that you are new at CSCS. And if you are new at CSCS, I wonder whether you have collected all the mandatory items that I just described in my proposal, in my presentation. So if you are new at CSCS, you need to we need to discuss this offline. You just send an email to the help@cscs.ch anyway. Okay, so if user G Alexei has access to PitsDind, it means that you have your username and password. It's the same username and password that you use for logging in on Dind, ELA, and whatever. Thank you, Jean-Yu. The list of previous publication are not part of the proposal. They have to be submitted. The list of publications has to be submitted as a separate file, like the CV. We do ask you to submit CV and list of publication, but please do not add them to the proposal. We want to have 3 or 2 separate files, in the sense that I'm happy to have publication list and CV in one file, but I really would appreciate if you do not put it together with your proposal description. So with your project proposal. Any other questions? No? You're all happy? Okay, I'm Maria Grazia. Simulation on NAMD, and it seems there is a problem with performance analysis. unreliable data, I think. CSCS helps me to just put the problem in the proposal. Is it right? Yes, absolutely, Stefano. If you tried and we had a problem and that we cannot fix ourselves, I think yes. But I really will appreciate if you can comment on that in your proposal, and not simply assume that we know that you have tried and it didn't work. So if help suggested you exactly as the help suggested to please comment in your proposal. Do you mean the publication list should only have the papers that acknowledge previous CSCS proposals? Okay. Athena, you asked, sorry to ask again, do you mean the publication list should only have the papers that acknowledge previous CSCS proposal? No. What I'm saying is your publication list has to be relevant for the proposals that you are submitting. I mean, you have to give us a publication list that not the general publication list, but the publication list that makes sense to read for your proposal. What I'm asking additionally is, if you have had a proposal at CSCS already, and this is a follow-up, or this is a new proposal, it can be a new proposal, we would be happy if you can still give us the links or the PDF file of the publication resulted from this specific proposal where CSCS was acknowledged. But your list of publications in general has to be just the list of publications that is relevant for the project that you are submitting. I hope it's clear, otherwise I can try to explain further. Yes? I think Jean-Guillaume is checking about the Amber 14 question. You're welcome. Are there more questions? Please, this is your chance. Deadline is next Friday at 6:00 p.m. If we can have performance measurements for both PITSDYND and PITSDORA, can we include the information on PITSDORA as well, or is it going to be ignored? Christian, if you have performance measurement and performance data for both systems, of course they are more than welcome. What we do not want to see is that you submit, you as a general PI, not you, Christian, that the PIs submit data only on PITSDORA. If we have only on PITSDYND, it's perfect, but only on PITSDORA is a rejection. So please, if you have data, put them in. Very good. Any other question? Once again, just as a general, as I want to sort of finish as I started, please remember that information on deadlines, on project submission, are available on our webpage all year around. I mean, you can find already now the information on the deadlines for all 2016. So please do not wait until the very last minute to check and to look for what you need. It will be very difficult now to be able to have preparatory project opened and data collected. I mean, you can be lucky, of course. I hope you will be lucky, but you can also be unlucky and not have sufficient time to actually do this. The list of requirements in project proposal format on the CSCS website and the proposal submission page are slightly different. Which one do you prefer we follow? I prefer you follow the web page because the web page is always up to date, whereas unfortunately the form might be slightly different because fixing the forms all the time might be not so straightforward. So this is why I always prefer you to take as a reference our web page. And please also, if you find things that are unclear, or if you think that there are inconsistencies, just let us know. Drop us an email at help, and we will look into it. We will come back to you, and we will fix anything that needs to be fixed. So please do not hesitate to give us feedback if you think that there are description or if there are pages that they are not completely clear for you. You're welcome. Okay. I don't know if you still have questions for us or if you're all happy, you know everything, so we only receive perfect proposals from now on. Thank you, Max. Also, please remember that the trend that we start seeing is that the resource request from overall, I mean, for the all proposals submitted, is much higher than the resources that we can distribute. So proposals have to be really excellent to pass review to be granted their resources in the end, because the less resources we have, the more strict we are in the reviewing process. Now, just for your information, the time frame is the following. So you will submit the proposal by the 16th of October. Then we will have technical and scientific reviews going in parallel. You will not receive any intermediate feedbacks. I know that I have posted on the tables on our webpage the deadline for the technical and scientific reviews, but these by no means imply that you will receive the feedback. You will receive your feedback, that means the technical reviews, scientific reviews, only after the panel committee, so the scientific advisory committee, which also act as panel committee, meets, and we will have all the results. And then you receive your formal letters with all the information included, all the other data included. What is meant by infrastructural requirements? Infrastructural requirement. Okay, I have to find out about that. Infrastructural requirement. On the web portal. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, no, I'll have to check about that. Infrastructural requirement. Maybe we meant, probably we meant more if you need special, if you have special requirement in terms of, I don't know, memory or technical, or also support, if you need to have special support. I'll need to check that and I'll come back to you. You are, okay, if you can send me an email, I will come back to you about this. And thank you for pointing this out. Or, yeah, please. Oh, okay, Zhang actually, this might be true. Or if you wanted to have, energy measurement or power measurement. So if at a certain point you are interested in that kind of information, then you have to state this in the proposal. But then we have to revisit that because it's a bit difficult to understand and to remember. Even I actually didn't remember clearly what was that about. But Simone, you are the one who asked the. No, who was the one asking for the PhD student can submit? I'm not a PhD student, exactly. But Simone, you can submit a proposal. You are a you are a postdoc in Ursula's group, so of course you can submit the proposal. Sorry, I was still looking at some questions that happened before. Okay, but that we can fix as long as the person who submit the proposal is not a PhD student. We can deal with that. Yes, sure. What about the outline of development? Is it meant for 3 years or the project? Yeah, that means yeah. If you have a multi-year project, we ask always to be a bit more specific in why you need more than 1 year and what are the steps that we require. I mean, for the second and the third year, not in terms of resource request, but really in terms of what is that you plan to do in the second year and what is that you plan to do in the third year if there is a third year. Now, because we're actually, I might comment on this, even though there is not a specific question currently asked, but about rejected proposal. So if you had a rejected proposal and you are thinking that maybe you want to submit again at CSCS, my first comment is the following. Please do not resubmit the same proposal, because if you do resubmit the same proposal, the next answer you will receive is, we have already reviewed this proposal and this proposal was rejected. So there is no need for you to resubmit again. But if any of you has experienced a rejection, usually there are very specific reasons why a proposal has been rejected. So what I can certainly suggest you is to properly and thoroughly revise your proposal, change your proposal such that can be actually considered a new, fresh proposal where you took into account all the criticism or the concerns or the comments of the technical reviewers and the scientific reviewers, and then you can resubmit a proposal. Just changing the technical part a little bit, it won't help, because usually when a proposal is rejected purely on technical base, what we tell you is, okay, the science is good, so your proposal is accepted, but for as long as you do not submit a proper technical description, your proposal will not start. But if your proposal has been fully rejected, it means that there are scientific reasons for being rejected, and then you have to work on the science. Yes, please. You might be answered already. Is there any problem if the PI is not from a Swiss university? I said many times that this is not a problem at all. The PI must have at least a postdoc, I mean, a full 1 year postdoc granted position in an academic institute, but does not have to be Swiss, in a Swiss university. No. You know that CSCS resources are open to the world. As long as your proposal is good and passes the reviewing process, you are in the competition together with the rest. In 2014, 12% of the resources were granted to international proposals. I see. Okay. Any more questions? Additional questions? Okay. If not, okay, I don't see anyone typing, so maybe then we have exhausted all the questions. But of course, please, if you have additional questions, also once we finish our webinar, do not hesitate to contact me directly. You don't need to go through the help. You just either drop me an email or you can call me. But these days I'm often in meetings, so might not be in the office. Then just let me know that you are looking for me, and I will call you back. Okay, then I think we can say goodbye. I hope to receive a lot of fantastically well written proposals. And once again, if you need, please just contact us. Bye bye and enjoy your evening, afternoon, evening.